Have you ever watched a movie, read a book, or heard a legend, and felt that strange sensation that you've lived it before? As if it weren't just a story, but something that touched a deep memory within you? The hero who leaves the village, faces the monster, loses everything, but in the end is reborn stronger. You get emotional, maybe even cry, and you think, why does this affect me so much? Or that wise figure, a mentor, an elder, a guide, who appears at the right moment, says one short sentence, and changes everything. You feel a shiver, as if it were true, not just fiction. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, didn't believe this was coincidence. He said, "These stories don't come from nowhere. They come from within you." And he gave it a name, the collective unconscious. What is the collective unconscious? Have you heard of the unconscious? Freud saw it as a storehouse of repressed desires, traumas, impulses. But Jung went deeper. He saw there's an even deeper layer, not just personal, but shared by all humanity. Jung called this the collective unconscious. It's not something you built in your life. It's something you were born carrying, like an ancestral inheritance, like a genetic code of the soul. Inside this collective unconscious live the archetypes, universal patterns of human experience. Not characters, but inner forces. The hero, the sage, the caregiver, the rebel, the innocent, the trickster, the lover, the ruler. They appear in myths, religions, dreams, in all cultures, in all times. Real examples, archetypes in daily life. Have you ever found yourself protecting someone at all costs? That's the caregiver. Or caught yourself challenging a rule that seemed unfair? That's the rebel. Or felt called to help someone see the truth? That's the sage. Or found yourself passionately in love with an idea, a cause, a person, in a way you can't explain? That's the lover. And the hero? How many times have you faced fear, overcome an obstacle, gotten up after falling, not for glory, but because it was the only thing to do? Questions for you: which archetypes live in you? Which movie or book character do you identify with most? When have you felt most alive in your life? When you feel betrayed, which part of you was hurt? What stories do you always tell? If you were a mythological character, who would you be? Archetypes aren't labels. They're lenses, tools to understand who you are, without judgment, without guilt, without needing to be perfect. Now you understand. Archetypes aren't out there. They're in here. In the next minutes, we'll dive deep into the 8 main archetypes, with real examples, signs of recognition, and how each one shows up in your daily life. Until then, remember, all stories are about us. The only difference is the character's name. The 8 main archetypes. Meet the patterns living in you. You're not one character. You're a universe of characters. Let's meet them. 1. The hero, the one who faces fear. He fights, falls, rises, and continues. Sign: I'm tired, but I keep going. 2. The caregiver, the one who protects. He sacrifices, puts others first, but can forget to care for himself. Sign: everyone depends on me. 3. The rebel, the one who challenges. He breaks rules for freedom. Danger: turns into destruction. Sign: this doesn't make sense. I'll do it my way. 4. The sage, the one who seeks truth. He questions, reflects, meditates. Danger: analysis paralysis. Sign: I need to understand before I decide. 5. The innocent, the one who believes. He hopes, sees beauty, trusts, but when hurt can become a victim. Sign: I still believe everything will work out. 6. The lover, the one who gives himself. Loves passionately people, causes, art. Danger: obsession. Sign: this consumes me, and I want to be consumed. 7. The ruler, the one who creates order. He organizes, leads, builds. Danger: control. Sign: I need everything under control. 8. The trickster, the one who exposes, uses humor, irony, cleverness to reveal truth. He's the awakener of consciousness. Danger, chaos. Sign, I'll say what no one wants to hear. Now you know the 8 main archetypes. But which one is dominating your life right now? In the next minutes, we'll talk about how to identify which archetype is active in you, with practical questions, emotional signs, and how to use this to make decisions aligned with who you really are. Until then, remember, you don't choose the archetype. It chooses you at the right moment. How to know which archetype is active in you. Signs that an archetype is in charge. Practical questions. What are you prioritizing now? Caring for others? Caregiver. Questioning everything? Sage. Breaking from the past? Rebel. How do you react to stress? Controlling everything? Ruler. Escaping with humor? Trickster. Seeking love? Lover. What is your main fear right now? Failure? Hero. Losing control? Ruler. Betrayal? Innocent. Real example, the 30-year-old crisis. A 30-year-old questions everything. Career, relationships, purpose. Seems like a crisis, but actually the sage is taking center stage. He's saying, you've lived for others. Now live for yourself. Exercise. Which character are you playing right now? Close your eyes. Ask, if my life were a movie right now, who would be the main character? Write it down. Don't judge. Just observe. Knowing the active archetype is powerful. But the real breakthrough comes when you integrate these forces. In the next minutes, we'll talk about the dangers of unbalanced archetypes, like the hero who becomes a martyr, the caregiver who becomes a victim, and how to prevent one from dominating your life. Until then, remember, one archetype alone is strength. Multiple imbalance is wisdom. The dangers of unbalanced archetypes. When the hero becomes a martyr, he fights but forgets to rest, does everything alone, never asks for help, and in the end, collapses. The healthy hero says, I face it. The unbalanced hero says, only I can. When the caregiver becomes a victim, he protects everyone, but feels drained, unappreciated, and resentful. The healthy caregiver says, I help. The unbalanced caregiver says, no one helps me. When the rebel becomes a destroyer, he challenges the system, but destroys everything, including himself. The healthy rebel says, this needs to change. The unbalanced rebel says, nothing is good. How to avoid imbalance. Recognize the archetype in action. Give it space but not the throne. Listen to the other archetypes. The hero needs the caregiver, rest. The rebel needs the ruler, structure. The lover needs the sage, clarity. Now you know, each archetype has light and shadow. In the next minutes, we'll talk about how to integrate the archetypes, not to become someone new, but to become more whole, with a practical exercise, conversation with the archetype. Until then, remember, you don't need to eliminate anything. You need to welcome everything. How to integrate the archetypes, an inner dialogue. Exercise, conversation with the archetype. Close your eyes, breathe. Imagine the active archetype. Ask, what are you trying to protect me from? What do you need me to see? How can I honor you without losing myself? Listen, even if it comes in silence. Example, hero in crisis. I'm so tired. Hero, what do you want? For me to stop running from fear. And what do you need? To face it, and to rest afterward. Integration is a journey. You don't integrate in one day. It's an ongoing dialogue. With patience, with compassion, with courage. Now you understand. Archetypes aren't to be eliminated. They're to be welcomed. In the next minutes, we'll close with a powerful ending. How to live with archetypes every day. A message of hope and an invitation to courage. Until then, remember, you're not one character. You're the whole story. You are the whole story. You are not just one. You are the hero who fights, the caregiver who loves, the rebel who transforms, the sage who reflects, the innocent who believes, the lover who gives himself, the ruler who organizes, the trickster who awakens, and all of them have a place in you. The journey doesn't end. Integrating archetypes isn't a destination. It's a path, a daily invitation to know yourself deeper. Final message. If this resonated, save it, share it, comment. Which archetype lives in me? Because someone reading it might feel seen. And follow for more on real self-awareness. Until our next meeting. And in the meantime, may you have the courage to listen to the voices within you. Because, as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. But when you listen, you regain control. You regain your soul. You're not one character. You're the whole story. Inspired by Carl Jung.